This is my little rant on how to fix Star Wars. This is from the perspective of a Star Wars fan. This is not from the perspective of what Disney should do, because Disney has billions of dollars and they're going to do whatever they want anyways, so they do not need my help. But as a fan, someone who has enjoyed Star Wars for decades and maybe enjoys it a bit less lately, here's how I would say fans can get involved in fixing Star Wars. So let's get into it. All right, so here's my 5 points of how we as fans can fix Star Wars. No, unlike other YouTube videos, I'm just giving you up front. I don't need you to stay on this video for the next 5 or 10 minutes if you don't want to. So here's what I think we could do. Stop giving Disney your money. Stop giving Disney your attention. Stop giving content creators attention for talking about Star Wars. Sorry, I guess maybe me too. And stick with pre-Disney Star Wars and maybe even find a new fandom to enjoy. So those are my sort of high-level things of what I think as a fan you and I could do to make Star Wars better. And what it really boils down to is Disney is a company that needs your money and attention to survive, period. And, you know, all media is kind of like this, right? And so since we live in an attention economy, they want as many people talking about Star Wars as possible. And they want as many people watching as possible. And they want you to buy their toys and, you know, all of that stuff. They want you to go to the theme parks. That's Disney's entire business model exists on us giving them our time and attention and money, right? If you don't like what they're doing with Star Wars, stop giving them your time, attention, and money until they make better Star Wars. The reason we liked Star Wars in the first place is because it was fun. It was great. It was a cool escape. It took you to a galaxy far, far away and had good guys and bad guys and adventure and, you know, magic and laser swords and lasers and explosion. Like, it was great. Star Wars was great. And I say this as someone that played the video games and watched the movies and read a bunch of the books growing up and just like a real legit fan. So I'm not someone who just showed up and was like, oh my gosh, Star Wars has gone woke or whatever. Like, I don't care. Just as someone that enjoyed Star Wars as it was, even the George Lucas prequel stuff, still more enjoyable and holds up better than the newer things. So enough of that. How we could actually fix this. So if, one, we stop giving Disney our money. Like, the thing that's crazy about Disney Plus or the subscription things is that all of the money that you get, like, it used to be, okay, Disney, George Lucas, whoever, makes a Star Wars movie. It goes out into theaters and it either does really well or it doesn't. And then if it does really well, then they have, you know, Blu-rays and VHSs and DVDs and all that stuff. And then people go like, oh my gosh, I really like this movie. I'm going to go buy it so I can watch it at home 1,000,000 times. And then that tends to feed into the merchandise, like the t-shirts and the socks and whatever else, bedspreads, toys, all that junk. And, you know, because you go, I like this thing so much, it's so enjoyable that I will spend my money and time on it, right? And the thing is that now, with Disney Plus, Disney isn't really making Star Wars movies so much anymore. They haven't made one in years. And the last two movies kind of, you know, did not great enough and were not enjoyed enough by enough people in theaters. And the whole theater business has kind of gone down. So they're like, we've got Disney Plus, pay us $10 or $15 a month or whatever it is. And, you know, you can watch all the Star Wars you want, which on the face of it seems like a great deal because you've got Star Wars, you've got Marvel, you've got all that stuff. But as a consumer, it's actually worse in a way because you're just handing them a pile of money every month and you're not really telling them, I like this thing more than that thing. I like this movie, so I bought it. I did not like that movie, so I did not buy it. So the pressure that used to exist for things to be good enough for you to pay $20 for a DVD or Blu-ray or whatever exists a lot less now. And so they just have these piles of hundreds of millions of dollars, literally, that they're spending on these shows so that they'll keep you watching and keep you just paying them $15 every month. But they don't care if you like the show. They care if you keep paying the money. If you paid the money and you didn't watch any Star Wars or any Disney Plus, but you just kept paying Disney every month, Disney would love that. Disney would happily allow all of us to pay them money every month to do nothing. That's part of the trick of Disney Plus. It's why cable companies made all this money all these years. Anyway, so if you stop giving them your money for Disney Plus, if you stop buying, stop going to the movies, stop basically not paying them for stuff, don't go to the theme parks, don't buy the toys, don't buy the whatever. Then Disney will go, wait a second, all these Star Wars fans that we've been milking for years and give us all this money for all this random Star Wars stuff, they're not buying anymore. They don't want the new toys. They don't want the new gear. They don't want the new video games. They don't want Star Wars anymore. They would make different movies and they would appease the fans of the original stuff. There would be a lot more just straight up good guys and bad guys and all of that stuff, heroic adventures and all that. It would be much better Star Wars. They would have to change because they know they could do the different stuff. They're choosing not to. And so stop giving Disney your money. Second, stop giving Disney your attention. Now, as much as the whole money side of this matters, the attention side of this matters almost more because we have so much social media and that's like the new marketing engine. So it's no longer just like, hey, we're making a sweet trailer for a thing and we're trying to get press and newspapers or whatever else. Now they want people talking about Star Wars. So they will make Star Wars that you don't like so that you'll talk about it with your friends and whatnot and be like, can you believe how bad Star Wars is now? Or can you believe that they're making it this thing? Like whatever. And because of that, the controversy of it creates more attention, creates more cash, creates more like, oh, something cool is going on with Star Wars. Now, note that this is different than, say, the Mandalorian launch alongside Disney Plus, where Disney went, okay, we have to make this really great, Star Wars show that's fun and exciting and innovative and all of that. And it felt like classic Star Wars and it was a good time and space adventures and lasers and all that fun stuff. And that basically worked. And they basically kind of went old school Star Wars for a little while and people loved it. And then they talked about it. But guess what? Now with shows like The Acolyte or Ahsoka or whatever else, they're basically making stuff that, their fan base might dislike enough that they're going to talk about that too. Basically rage baiting everyone into doing the marketing for them. And by the way, it's working. It is working. Now, that doesn't necessarily help them in the long run, but it keeps them relevant. It keeps Star Wars having attention. They could be in board meetings going like, look at how many more Star Wars mentions there were on Twitter or X or whatever else. Even if they're mad, you go like, oh, the fan base is really riled up, but at least they care. So that attention thing is just as important as the money thing. They're related, obviously. So, if as a fan, you want better Star Wars and you don't like what they're doing, don't give them your attention. Don't tweet about it. Me making this video is kind of opposite of my own advice, but guess what? I'm not going to be making 10 of these. But stop giving Disney your attention for Star Wars or anything else. Again, with Disney Plus, it's all tied together. So you kind of have to boycott the whole thing if you're going to. Third, and this one, obviously I look like an idiot for even saying this, but here we go. Stop giving content creators attention for talking about Star Wars. Don't watch videos like this anymore. There's a whole cottage industry of folks like, say, the Critical Drinker or whoever else who are making a lot of money and a lot of attention saying, oh my gosh, can you believe how bad Star Wars is? And there's a lot of people basically hate watching Star Wars. And so you've got this hilarious situation where there's a whole industry now and potentially millions of dollars being made talking about how bad this is and being critical of it. And that's fine. But if you want it to get better, you actually have to stop watching them too. A whole bunch of fans have to either move on from this or stop talking about it or stop giving the entire Star Wars ecosystem time, attention, money, energy so that Disney goes, wait a second, we can't even rage bait them anymore. They just are apathetic to the whole thing. And to some extent, this is going to happen anyways, because if you make enough junk that people don't like, they're just going to get apathetic and move on to find something else. But it's not, quote, helping anyone or anything by more or less giving, like, amplifying the voices and attention of people who are still talking about Star Wars. Star Wars is fine with that. Disney is actually fine with the critical drinker trashing their stuff because he's at least talking about it. If literally the fandom just goes, I don't care about any of that stuff anymore, then Disney's really in trouble. Which leads to point number 4. Stick to all the pre-Disney Star Wars stuff, like the George Lucas things. Man, my nose is itchy today. But stick with the pre-Disney Star Wars. Ideally, this would be something like if you already own the DVDs or the Blu-rays of the original, 6 movies, cool. Don't keep your Disney Plus subscription, but then just watch the old stuff. I'm saying basically get yourself copies of the original movies, maybe the video games or the books pre-Disney and whatever else, and just enjoy that. That stuff's all still good. Like, it's kind of like saying, hey, if you don't like the new Metallica album, fine. Just go buy the old ones and keep enjoying those. You don't have to buy the new stuff. But if the fan base basically said, you know what, Star Wars was A New Hope to when George Lucas sold it, nothing else. So, that could still include like the Clone Wars, that, includes like the 6 movies, stuff like that. A lot of video games, a lot of fun books to read. There's still plenty of Star Wars content that is fantastic. And I'm not saying all of it's great. I'm just saying if you're not cool with what Disney is doing, just kind of boycott that whole thing. And you can still enjoy old school Star Wars if you want. And then kind of point 5, and this might be my most contentious one, but maybe find a new hobby or fandom to enjoy. There's a lot of good stuff, amazing stuff actually being created right now that isn't necessarily Star Wars, isn't necessarily the stuff we grew up on. Like for example, WWE's has kind of a resurgence and that stuff's fun to watch. And there's a lot of great video games being made that are, amazing and have a lot of cool fandom too, or whatever else. Like there's, anime and all that stuff. Like there's so much good stuff being made right now that if you're not cool with what they're doing with Star Wars, just find some other nerdy activity to engage in. Like to me, that's both a better use of your time, but also your money and attention and whatever. Because the thing is if the Star Wars fandom turns into basically, I hate Star Wars, but I won't stop watching it because I love Star Wars. Basically, it's like literally the, fan equivalent of like a bad breakup that never fully ends, or like a relationship that's toxic and you can't like leave. Like that thing, it's not great just as a person, right? And so, if you feel like you don't like Star Wars anymore, it's totally cool to find something else that's fun. Like life is too short to spend it hate watching and complaining about someone basically ruining something that you enjoy. Like that's just not, I don't think, a great use of anyone's time. And also ultimately, for the reasons above, I think that just ends up benefiting Disney anyways. Like if we're all so mad that we have to watch everything that they put out with that's Star Wars attached to it or whatever, even if it's bad, you go, well, that sucks. It's not fun. Find something that's fun, find something that you enjoy, and it doesn't have to be Star Wars. And like, I think that's a much more healthy way to go than binge watching people complaining about how bad the new Star Wars is. So those are my sort of 5 ways of how you and I, as nerdy folks, could actually do something to improve Star Wars. I don't think it's going to fix it. I think Disney is going to do what they're going to do, but I do know that they would notice. If the core fan base stops showing up, stops giving them money, stops going to the theme parks, stops basically getting bamboozled by stuff that they don't even enjoy, well, that's going to show up on Disney's bottom line, and they're going to have to make changes to Star Wars to actually bring the fans back. Or maybe the fans just leave and we find some new thing that we like. That's always an option. So that's my little rant for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. May the Force be with you.